Maggie, so I got to tell you, I was skeptical about the whole thing, and everybody always starts with that whenever I tell them like what you do, and I see the big smile on your face, so I know people are always throwing that at you. So I hate to start our segment with that, but I got to tell our listeners, as somebody who sat on the other side of a Zoom call from Maggie, she literally did a deep dive on my characteristics and my traits and whatnot, and guided me through so many insightful things. And I wanted to take this time to share, that with our listeners, and let Maggie tell a little bit about her story and why she does what she does and how it's impactful. So Maggie, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you're right, it is a very unconventional system. That's the way I like to tee it up. It's not something you typically find in business environments. And it's kind of what I love about it because my whole mission is to bring us into deeper conversation so we can really uncover the root or the deeper layers of maybe what's keeping us stuck, or what's challenging us, the things that we can feel or sense about ourselves, but we haven't been able to find words to describe or language to explain what we're feeling or experiencing. And I think the system does that.
What got you into this? This is so unique.
Thank you for asking. So I always joke that I've had one foot on the ground, one foot on the clouds my entire career. I did the whole traditional route, went to college, started my career in finance. I thought I was going to be a marriage counselor.
You
My
could be.
path is so wild.
Hmm.
But the entire time I taught yoga, I've always been into mindfulness practices. And human design is a really cool blend of all of that. It's a very logical, experimental, practical system, but it's rooted in ancient traditions that are very unconventional, like astrology or the chakra system and things that you would not typically find in business. And so I stumbled upon human design about 4.5 years ago, and I found it to be just such a useful tool to, again, give this language that I think we're missing in some of these environments and coaching environments, where it's so much deeper than just the numbers or the metrics you want to hit. We really get to that core of why, and then how do you do it successfully, based on who you are inherently and what your gifts are and strengths are. And so that's kind of how I got into it. It fell into my lap.
Can you kind of like go through like what it looks like? What is human design first off? How does it work? What does it look like?
Yeah, so let's start from the very beginning. Human design is one self-awareness tool that you can add to your toolbox and self-discovery. I
Mhm.
like to think about it like the most detailed personality test you've ever taken. So if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram or the DISC, any of those profile assessments, think about that, but on a much deeper level. And it's rooted, and your chart is pulled based on your birth information. So your birth date, time, and location. And that's usually where I lose people. And I totally get it. It really does ask you to be open-minded. But what it does is it gives us one tool that we can look at that shows us your learning styles, your natural gifts and strengths, things that you do that you think are as natural as breathing, but are actually something that not everybody gets access to and not everybody is capable of doing. How you interact with other people, how other people perceive you. There's so much that we can explore, just by looking at this information. And then my job is to help you translate that into your real life, into your day to day. How do we actually apply this and make it meaningful for you? And so that's what human design is.
So can you give us a story, a transformation story, maybe an example of somebody that came in to see you or to talk with you on Google Meet, because I know you can do this, or Zoom.
Mhm.
And can you just give us an idea of like something that a success story?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple that come to mind. The first one is, when I first brought human design to Engel and Volkers, there was a team on the verge of breaking up,
Mhm.
and they were having trouble communicating. That's what it came down to. It seemed like there were all these other factors, but it was really a communication issue. And so we got in the room with them, and I probably worked with them on a monthly or more basis in the beginning, just to foster some of that deeper communication to understand their differences. And that was incredibly supportive. They ended up bringing on another team member and a staff member, and for 2 years they grew that, together, and that worked really well. And also the summer they came to the realization that, maybe a team wasn't the best approach. And I know that doesn't seem like a happy ending, but what
Yeah.
was so amazing about it was the second they started to feel that rub. They called me back in. And so then for another month or two, we worked really closely together to help dissolve the team in the most peaceful, amicable way possible. Because I know that sometimes those aren't always the easiest things to do. And they had this language and tool now to talk to each other throughout this entire process. And it ended really positively. So I know that's not the biggest success story, but I really see that as a
Love that.
success because people, they were working together so well throughout the whole process.
Hmm.
We also had an advisor who came in for several sessions. I won't say human design was the only thing at all, but she ended up having the best year of her career last year, which I think is saying a lot considering just all
It
of
was a
the
tough
changes that were
market
going on
too.
in the market.
Yeah.